who do I have the pleasure of sitting with today?
do I say my name?
Yes.
Oh, my name is Preetika Rajgariah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Out of where?
I live and work in Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm. How has it been as an artist in Houston for you?
Houston has allowed me space, and I think space is the biggest thing. When I kind of like space and a pace, like a specific pace of life and making that goes well with my,
Do you feel like it fits you well, like the pace fits you well? Because when I think of pace, right, I think in general we hear the South has a slower, more steady, a more humbled approach in some ways to how we operate through life, where then you've got like the major metropolitans of New York and Chicago, which I know you've spent some time in.
Yeah.
So it's like a very different pace of things.
Yeah, and I think that like I have spent time in those places and realized that they don't do well for my nervous system. And I think that my nervous system needs to be regulated in order for me to tap into making. So the great thing about Houston is that you can get that like fast, go, go, go.
Yeah.
You can tap into that if you want to, but then also like 15 minutes down the road, you can like tap into like real slow Southern situation too, like rurality.
Yes.
That's not a word, but
it can be.
Should be.
That's good.
But you can kind of get the best of all the.
Do you?
Best of both worlds.
Is that so? Where do you find that downtime for yourself when you're home? What does that look like when you need to like break away from the studio and like touch feet to ground or reconnect? What does that look like when you step away?
Gosh. My stepping away looks like stepping into the kitchen.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think that that's where my decompression happens. It's not ever sitting. It's like I have a hard time sitting.
Really?
So it's another task. But to me, the kitchen is another place where like painting happens. Yeah, because it's your ingredients are your different colors, and you kind of like do all the prep. You have your palette, your like what do you call it, mise en place, right? So it's a very parallel practice, but I can kind of put my creative energy into something else that is also still nourishing and still like positive for my body, but my mind can kind of like zone out to trash TV or something.
Right.
Whatever I'm
well,
watching.
what came first then? So I think sometimes we forget that cooking, it can be a form of creativity, right? It's such a functional thing. I feel like most adults realize the hardest part in every day is deciding what I'm going to eat 3 times a day, every day a week, right? But when you pull back and you treat it less of a task and it becomes like this space of enjoyment, when you're really thoughtful about it's the food for, nourishment for the soul.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's learned really young. So for you, was the kitchen kind of a place for the family, or did it come later in life?
This is a really good question because I have so many different answers.
Okay, go.
Multifaceted.
Yes.
Okay, so my mother was a homemaker, so the kitchen and the home was hers. It was like the center. We always came together for meals. Though I had my formative years in this like 90s America, we didn't really eat out much because our dietary restrictions were that of vegetarian, almost like vegan.
And you weren't finding that in Houston in the 90s.
No. It was like Subway was my eating out. Getting a foot long was really exciting because, so we were eating at home and also like Indian groceries were a lot more limited then. So there was a lot of like processes. Like my mom was doing a lot of stuff from scratch, which this day and age, I'm like, wow, you were doing the most. Like, I bow down to you. So there was that, but personally speaking, I was not invited into her domain because honestly, I honestly created more work for her as a kid that was kind of rambunctious and making a mess. So I think that, and then also the wild thing is that we are not taught to classes like home ec, sewing, cooking, all these home domestic spaces are not encouraged in my culture perhaps, but also like maybe a society at large. There's like, oh, you need to put your energy in like math and science, and you need to put your energy in practical. Like, why do you need to learn how to feed yourself?
Yeah, right. The thing that you must do
Why
for
do
the
you
rest
need
of
to
your
learn
life,
that?
every day.
So then
Yeah.
this wild thing happened with me that I started pursuing my own interests in the kitchen after leaving my mother's kitchen, leaving the home, and finding like, oh, I like to cook in a different way. I don't have all this knowledge kind of like stored in me, which it seems like our mothers or my mother did. She just like do the thing without ever looking at anything. And I was like, wow. So I like to approach cooking as like recipe, like finding and seeking. And then also, so then I started to find my own way in the kitchen as like a young adult. And then I started realizing the ways, like I started realizing kind of probably more closer to my like 30s that nurturing is actually really important to me. And it's actually, I think, a gift that I'm happy to bestow upon like community and family and friends. I was like, oh wow, that's like something I really enjoy. It's something I really value, and realizing that my mom nurtured us, like that nurturing energy is definitely something that was passed down to me. And so now I do it. It looks a different way, but.
And you said a few things that
Let's tap.
pop. Yeah. So I know that you're saying that for a little bit you were not quite allowed in. So maybe it wasn't like a hands-on knowledge passed down, but there was this like passive appreciation of like, this is what home feels like. This is what being in the kitchen looks like. So whether or not you were actually in there hitting her recipes with her, like I'm sure it kind of folded into your approach when you're in the kitchen, even without recognizing it.
And also thinking of like, I think that I'm coming to terms with a lot of this stuff through the work now, through a lot of like childhood mindsets, things like that. One of the things that comes up for me is I held a lot of judgment towards my mother for like how she spent her time and energy. And I was like, oh, she was obligated to cook. So that has a negative connotation. And realizing that, oh no, like it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to be obligated. It's honestly just like how you spend your time and energy, right? Like if you think about nourishing the body, it's like you're either going to take the time to like decide on a place, drive on a place, wait on service. You're going to spend the 2 hours like that, or you're going to spend the 2 hours doing all the things in which you kind of like know what's then going in.
Well, okay, but you said something. You said the term you used was nurturing, and how that is unfolding in your artwork.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, maybe that's the approach that your mom had, right? Like as you and your brother being her children, her babies, her family, like for her, it was pouring all of that energy into you guys. And so in a similar way, so while for you and for us as kids in general, we look at our parents and we have these perspectives that we are like, oh, I'm not going to do that when I'm older. It's like either 100%. We model it or we're like the antithesis of that, right? And then you grow into being your own person, your own adult version of yourself, and you realize kind of there's some through lines of things that you thought you would not do or would not be, and it just comes out in different ways. And so I'm curious, nurturing now being a space that you really tapped into, or not tapped in, but have recognized is a core and essential part of how you like to show up. What does that look like in your work, in your art?
I think that nurturing ends up being, Nurturing is care.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple things.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm like trying not to you got to keep me like.
No, we don't.
No.
This is a conversation. Let's tangent.
No. So like, there's care that shows up in the fact that I work with my body, like visibly, and everything that entails when you're coming to terms with your own body reflected back to you. Like, the work comes out of a place of not seeing it. But then when you do see it, it's a whole nother set of
What do you mean by
things,
that?
right?
By
Like,
not seeing it?
So like working with the mats and thinking about the wellness industry. Like, I've always been interested in places where culture shows up and how it shows up, especially as someone who grew up young here in the States and in the South. How culture gets like repackaged and designed and gifted back to me in a way that I'm like, oh, well, yeah. So that had led me several years ago to think about yoga and the wellness industry in the same way, and how it's repackaged from my memories of practice into this new thing that's then like sold to me as this spiritual practice that's exotic and Eastern and all healing, but also all these other things.
So let's back up a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You are Houston raised, but of South Asian descent and born in India.
Yeah.
What part?
I was born in New Delhi.
Okay.
My mom was raised in Mumbai, and so I spent a lot of time navigating the two metropolitan regions, and then which Delhi's kind of in the middle, and then Bombay is beach side town. So
and so you were saying, though, as you've explored different parts of your practice, your culture has been a really dominant force. It's like in how you pick the medium of which you like express your work.
Yeah, and I think that when you grow up being like an artist, I feel like all artists start off as drawing and painting.
Yeah.
That's kind of like you're either drawing, painting, or sculpting, but drawing and painting is a foundation, right? So it's however you get to slow down and observe and take stuff in. And
well, and you were talking about yoga mats and how it's been interesting to actually see and be aware of how your culture has been repackaged and regifted, and that comes through and how you have expressed yourself in your work.
You asked me about bodies, and like
so.
I was saying that not seeing self was very much like in my early 20s when I was kind of figuring out my body and body rituals and routines for myself, and then being like, oh, yoga, I know that. Right. I will feel it. I will feel all these things there because I have practiced. And when that is not the same, and when you don't see yourself reflected back to you, you start to feel like this is not a space for me. And that feeling taps back into, I think, every area during my formative years that I tried to feel belonging. It didn't matter who was around me, but I just didn't feel belonging. And I think that maybe that's an artist's, black sheep type thing that we carry as artists or thinkers or whatever, empaths or whatever. Different things. I finally found community in the arts, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, wow, there is a place for all of us weirdos. But like then thinking about the body and putting my body back into the work, that is a different set of reflection and maybe confrontation, because then I have to process and digest seeing my body. And what an amalgam, what a set of things that then brings up for a woman, like for me right now. Like, coming to peace and terms and normality with that and all the body holds and changes and carries and contends with, not confront, contend, I think is kind of,
As you were talking, I just had probably a very delayed but biggest aha about your work or what you said. If at some point seeing how the West has identified with yoga, it doesn't quite look like where it stems from, right? But you, in maybe some form of like reclaiming what's yours and also maybe even protest to what's there, you are painting yourself back into the space, back physically onto the mat. Like, this is mine.
Yeah.
And I've seen your work and it's beautiful, but I don't think I made that connection until just now.
To me, it's always felt really
obvious. I know, that's what I'm saying.
So it's actually so wild that like the reason I started my pulpit talk the other day was like, people ask me why I use yoga mats, and like I never thought I would have to be answering that question every single studio visit or every single like gathering because I'm like, well, wasn't it obvious? Like, I feel kind of
in hindsight, it's like, oh duh, it makes sense. But I think no. I think, you know, people just initially look at it as, oh, that's really interesting. You know, it's tied to her culture. Yeah, it's like a beautiful way to like pull those two things together. But I don't really think for me, it didn't immediately come across as like, this is I am reclaiming, I am showing you like whose bodies really started and kind of like were in connection with this thing that has ballooned in such a different way.
Whose body doesn't show up.
Absolutely. I rarely see.
Rarely.
Yeah.
So for me, that's like the most obvious, like duh. But I'll tell you what's exciting for me is that this gridded material as a painter, it's like fake canvas, which leads me to think so much about performance. And that opens up worlds into like performed wellness, performed materiality, performance that I did all growing up, performing that we do in all the spaces that we navigate on a day-to-day basis. Like I think a lot about like what is real and embodied and what is when you have to fake it till you make it. And then it's like, well, if you do the thing every single day, then you're doing the thing. Then it's not fake anymore. This is like the circle that I get to just like the hamster wheel that kind of like occupies my mind.
Well, you spoke to the larger crowd around how when you grew up doing yoga with your uncle, was it your uncle in the park? You were like, well, you would just go out there with like towels. And it was very much about the action of what you were practicing. When we think about it here, it's like, let me get my cute little two-piece, let me get this brand new yoga mat that I've never, all the things to make it, you know, again, and it becomes a little bit more of the performance of it. And if I'm taking this a little further, when we think about art today, I think where it stems from, the practice of it was truly just expression of self, right? On whatever materials you could find. Whatever felt called to you, right? And then, but now you fast forward, and if you want to be a practicing, taken seriously, you're like, let me get all the things. Let me go and get like the beautiful new tools or materials, because this is what's gonna make my art versus really just stripping back to like the why of it for yourself.
So well said.
I feel like I'm just learning so much in this moment.
No,
I'm
actually thrilled that how this conversation is flowing. Like the fact that we started in the kitchen is probably a blessing. Then the other layer of the work for me too is like when my mom's fabrics come in. And do you know what's really cool right now is my mom's in India right now, and she's with all of the family, extended family, from which I have to really, it's just been a while, and I haven't gone back since right before COVID, and so it's the longest I've ever been since not going back to India. And part of the reason is because of the lifestyle choices that I've made and who I embody as an artist now and as a human now. So the one thing I did tell her, so I don't think any of my family knows about like my queer lived life, which has been like a decade now that I've known that for myself, I think. But the cool part is that I told my mom, I said, get me a piece of fabric from every one of these women in my life so I can put them in the work.
Yeah.
Like, it's also, and that brings up like so much stuff because I don't know that they know what that means to me or what that holds. It's like, well, like your worn sari is going to be in this incredible place as a work of art one day. At least that's how kind of like I intend it to be, but it's a lot of interesting stuff to kind of like sit with in the gut.
That you'll probably continue to sit with as you're like working through the pieces.
Absolutely.
So,
that I continue to sit with and revisit all the time.
So what has it meant so far to work in your mom's textiles?
It means the world to me. Yeah, I've worked with her fabrics before. I worked with them in undergrad when I was young baby artist, not knowing what I was doing, and go ahead.
But why hers versus what you can get supplied elsewhere? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I think that. It's kind of like what I had access to. So part of it is like, as artists, working with what you have on hand that is accessible and free. So me telling her that she can give me her stuff because she's not going to send it to Goodwill.
Right.
Right. And it's just taking up space for her. And also fabrics and silks and things have like a lifespan. If you don't use them, they like tear, get holes, things like that. And her perfectionist self is
not gonna keep them
So her willingness in that way, like I don't come from a family of artists. I don't come from a family of doctors and stuff either. So they just, regular people doing regular stuff. And for her to be so open and generous in the material, it'd be like, yeah, you can use it for your art because that's not my realm, but it's going to use. That has been great. Working with them now, like revisiting textiles of hers is a whole new thing as a mid to late 30s, early 40s now person, because these things hold a lot more to me. Her smell is on all the fabrics. I can't escape it. It's like I can smell it on the work that's in the hallway. You know what I mean? Like, and that I don't think that I had the same appreciation for as a youth working with the fabrics. But like, thinking about how lineage is moved forward in my work quite literally, because I'm not going to have progeny, is important. And that's, I think, where it shows up for me. Like, I think it's part of the reason I'm doubly connected to the work. It's like, yeah, of course it's me more often than not, but it's also imbued with like body that is very close to me.
It's reminding me the request to have your mom go and grab pieces from each one of like the women in your family. It kind of reminds me of, like the version of grandmothers doing quilt making or patch making and taking all of these pieces to create this one larger body of a story or a conversational piece from the family. And with that being in your work as an artist, knowing, like you said, this is your version of creating or giving life to something for the world. Instead of it just being small feet in the home, it's like something that you're sharing globally or like with the masses. So how is it for you to kind of like let it go and be out there? Do you feel a stronger connection to some of those pieces that are pulling from your mom's old saris and what you're creating that feels very much of you?
I think I feel like really proud when I see the work out in the world doing the thing. It immediately takes me back to a space of not seeing that when I was younger. So much now. I think I'm like officially mid-career artist now.
Okay.
I'm entering that chapter, which I think is the long, grueling part. And I'm like, great. Buckled up. Buckled up for this part. But I get so much feedback about visibility being so important to that person who saw the work, that saw themselves, that felt seen, especially in like queer communities, especially South Asian and queer communities that, again, you just get so used to not seeing yourself and not knowing that, yeah, you too can be an artist. You too can make, and like maybe follow the less beaten path. I think that, I forget where that question started, but that has been really resonating with me in the work lately when I see it out in the world, is like I get to notice other people noticing. And it's different conversations that happen depending on who's viewing the work, right? And so, well, one other thing I'll say too is like getting to see my mom see the work is like very, very special, because her then, it's almost like the visuals don't even matter to her. It's like she immediately sees the textiles. She immediately sees her fabrics and her stuff, and she's like, it taps her into her memories, and and then her sharing that with me is just like such a gift, because we also come from such a culture that like doesn't really share these things. And it's like, I love using the work as a way to connect with them in ways that otherwise wouldn't happen.
It's like those conversation cards that exist now, right? It's like every time you create a new piece, you're able to use it as that like prompt to, you know, understand a little bit more about what that story is for your mom behind it, or whomever you're talking to. And then you have your own version of what the story is for you, and it's coming together.
Yeah, exactly. I got those conversation cards recently for my family. I got a family day. They did not. I was like, whatever. We're gonna do this, and y'all are gonna be okay with it. It's either that, or you look at me naked on the wall.
Well, how was it?
Pick one.
How was that? But actually, I'm glad you went there, because I was curious. The first time that you started drawing yourself in the work, and the first time that you drew yourself nude in the work, what was that like? When did that start? Do you remember the first piece?
There's multifaceted answer to this.
Okay.
Too. So my undergrad thesis show as a 22-year-old was oil paintings of myself in the nude, collaged with fabric. It was 2008 back then, and I did not get any real feedback from my professors or anyone about what I was doing. And as someone who had migrated into the arts from around about like Medway, I was very insecure about the place I was holding as an artist. And so I was like, oh, I must be doing something wrong, so I'm gonna like completely not do that, because that's not the right thing to do. No one's responding, I'm like not doing the right thing. So then I spent the next 7 years of my life not playing the race card and erasing identity from the work. Then I came back to the figure finally in 2020, really, because when I was in graduate school, I was encouraged, and I went to an interdisciplinary program to try just like a bunch of different mediums, and I got into performance and sculpture and photography and all the different things, and I kind of got away from painting and drawing, which was fine. But then when I came back to the figure, I came back to the same thing I had done over 10 years ago, which was like, oh, no, this is important for me, and it's also important for for generations that are witnessing. But so it wasn't the first time that my parents had seen my body painted. And back then it was oil paintings done in a very like classic Renaissance way. That is what the Canon teaches us, right? Is like, ooh, art, the woman body, the white woman body painted in repose is art. I wasn't allowed to occupy that space. So I come back to it now and I'm like, okay, guess what? The fabric is going to take up the body. Like, I don't have to paint the body. The body is now going to be kind of like clothed, or like, I'm forgetting the word, but where the fabric is literally becomes the skin. And that was important to me as a way of, for all the different formal reasons of it being like color, texture, pattern, and fun, but also a way of, and then all the content with my mom and stuff, but then, nah, I forgot. There's just so much.
I know. I feel like your mind is
My
hitting
mind is
all
like
of the
doing all the
different
gears, and so I'm trying to, but like what I do want to try to get to, maybe I'll come back to it, is like using the fabric I thought would kind of be like a little less charged or less offensive and I say offensive because I'm talking about my parents. My dad said to me, I understand that you're trying to be modern by being in like nude. And I sat with that and I was like, but it's not modern to show nude women in art. It is literally
the most classic example.
Most classic example. It is what all of art history is. So that is a wild thing that happens, because then suddenly my body in the margins that it occupies is seen as obscene, is seen as not classic, not worthy of the canon. And I'm like, well, that just means I have to keep doing the work, because it shows up also not just from my parents, which like is the closest kind of blood connection, but it also shows up in viewership, where black and brown women bodies have been relegated to certain spaces in the hierarchical systems. And it's strange sometimes.
So it's interesting because as you're talking about that, my mind goes into two places. The first being, you talked about your thesis or your first exhibition of yourself in this way was in some ways to mirror what has been classic examples of art.
Yes.
But European examples of art.
Yes.
And so as a student of that, it's like, am I then assimilating to that, trying to assign myself to that history, when to your dad's perspective, that's not your history, right? Or is it?
But then also if you look at like Eastern Indian miniature painting, if you look at, I'm also always thinking about how I'm not necessarily interested in positioning myself in relationship to this Western canon. So I see where the work fits in from an art historical perspective here in the places in the time and the place that I'm located in. But I'm also, first and foremost, I just make the work for me, and I make whatever from the gut wants to be made. And I don't really think two thoughts about doing it. before just doing it and kind of like processing everything on the back end. But I think a lot about how all of these places in the whole world have their own art making histories, art and making histories. It's just where like capitalism came into the mix. Right. Because you have all these incredible craft histories and like that whole craft and fine art like battle that I'm not at all versed in and I'm not gonna have right now, but like, you know, like there's making in all of our cultures and there's histories of making, and so I'm often trying to find where my making comes from these days. Like where in my lineage do I come from? Like who in the family, you know? I'm like I sit with that a lot.
I feel like it's interesting when you do start to try and uncover what of you is ancestral. Like what of you is just
such a better way
made, right? Like just born with. Because you know, as you get older, you start to see, you can see immediately, like, okay, I probably got this tick from my dad, or I got like this habit from my mom, right? And while maybe they weren't able to express themselves through the thing, you can still sometimes see craft or nurturing or whatever stems from which parent or which family member. But to your point, and especially Indian culture, there's a very rich making and craftsman and like, you know, artisan kind of tie culturally in all the different forms, wood, textiles, you know, beyond.
I mean, my mom did grow up, like we used to do henna together and she was really good at it. And so I'm like, okay, like,
maybe that's where you're painting.
Like, that was an early example. She also did like embroidery and always blamed her bad vision on like
being too close.
So she actually always discouraged me from doing it. And I was like, well, I'm going to do it. And also my vision is inherited from like, it's not from the embroidery. But it's funny. I literally have recreated like a pillow that she embroidered during, you know, it's this like embroidered pillowcase that I have a very bodily memory of always being up against, but she embroidered that. And it's like cool to recreate it in my materials.
So have you explored or asked the questions or trying to figure out who else in your family has like this kind of connection to art and creativity?
Her oldest sister, so my eldest aunt was an artist too. But she always did it kind of on the side. And I'm actually like recreating one of her artworks too.
This is
like
it?
Butterfly glass painting. So I'm recreating it in my materials. But I immediately, it's one of the first artworks that was hung in our house that a person I knew made. And it wasn't like just bought from the store. It was like, you know, made with a lot of pride and then like recognized and like put on the wall. And my parents still hang like a lot of my old like high school art on the walls. Like it's still in their home.
That's sweet. Why are you frowning? But when you go back and see it, you're like,
I'm like, can we update that to like?
I've got new stuff, Mom.
I've got new stuff.
I'm constantly making.
But they maybe don't want the new stuff. They're like, no, the stuff for the rodeo was great.
So actually, let's go back to baby Preetika. When did you first realize that you had a talent in painting or drawing?
I mean, I think I just knew from art class really young.
When was art class? Like middle school, elementary?
Elementary. And then probably like, I guess my earliest memories are elementary and like class projects. I mean, I was a stellar student because of course I had no option not to be a stellar student. But my my mom and she would help me do these class projects, and mine were always just like very drawing heavy, or like the art project of it all kind of like.
Even your science fair was
Even the
arty.
science fair was like more about the art for me than like the info. So I think early on I knew it was just always kind of relegated to the hobby box. Not with any other expectations at all, but it was always just relegated to a box. I did not, and my aunt who had done art on the side, like Bob Ross, and she would like follow along with the Bob Ross. She was also like a chemistry teacher. Like that was her real job. You know, she wasn't, her hobby couldn't, that's just how I always saw art.
So when did that change for you?
It didn't change for me till I got to college.
Because you went to college pre-med.
Pre-med. I went to a small private school for pre-med, and I did not know that you could like be an artist till halfway through. I was able to fit an art class into my schedule, and there was an art building, and there was art professors. And I was like, wait, what? This is like there's a whole building? There's a whole major? I had no idea. I was like in this sheltered bubble of just certain things. And so, I mean, I'm seeing other people do it. I'm like, well, I can do it too. Like if they can do it, I can do it too. Like this is what I really love. And then I have art professors being like, oh, well, you're good. Like, you know, you're in like a general, where all the, what is it called when all the students have to take that core set
like
of
the
classes?
prerequisites.
Yeah, prereqs. So you have like all sorts of majors in these basic art classes. And then the professors know when there's like an artist or a creative person that they can then recruit into their department.
They're always
you can like, you would be a great art major, or you could even minor in it. And I was like, oh, wait, what? Like, yeah, it really was that. And then it still took me a minute. So there was like that first, it takes me many repetitive life lessons to learn a thing. I have to stumble
It means you're just
along
not
the way.
jumping into it. You're like, let me test the waters.
So there was that moment, and I changed majors and everything. But then when I graduated, I was like, well, I don't know what to do with this. And my mom was like, well, you can be an art teacher now. And I was like, okay, great.
And that's always where you kind of go. It's like, I can either...
Teaching, right. Which I had also always done. Like I've always taught in some form or fashion since I was younger. But then I quit teaching after 2 years because it wasn't for me. And I went to a residency. I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York City. SVA has a summer residency for artists, and it was 2010, and I was like fresh and living in Chelsea for the summer. The studios weren't air conditioned. It was like 104 degrees when I moved in. They had these like big industrial fans, and we were just all a variety of artists. I mean, I was the definition of like emerging. I had no idea what I was doing. But I was also then surrounded by international artists who had years and like, you know, up to mid-career, years and years of like their practice showing up on the same floor. And that was when that's when things really shifted for me. And I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Can I do this? Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to do it.
What an experience.
Yeah.
So
I started doing residencies, to be honest.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So how have residencies then, how have you used that within your practice? Like what do they do for you?
They do a lot of things for me. I have like 5 answers to every question you ask.
Give me all of them.
So at first it was kind of this like getting to know, right? I am kind of a traveler and wanderlust, and I'm a Sag in 5 houses, so it's like
it's in you.
It is in me to be constantly learning and constantly challenging the self and exploring new things and being open to expansion in a lot of different things. I'm learning this about myself. But I think residencies fit right into that. As I think McColl must be like the 7th or 8th residency that I've done over the course of since my 15 plus year practice. And now I can be more, I know what I'm looking for a bit more, and I can be more selective. I think at the beginning though, or rephrase, they do a lot of things, as in it also functions as like art community, like continued education almost, like, because so much of art is solitary, and sometimes if you don't find your community in the place that you live, I don't only find community in the place that I live. I like to grow my community. And so for me, it has really, like, I feel rich, like, and yeah, like wealthy in my relationships that I often form during times like residencies. Yeah, so it's an opportunity to travel. It's an opportunity to experience a new environment, that I've a new region, like all those things I really love. And then fellow artists and like all that connective tissue. I think that is the tissue that needs, I think these are the fibers that need to be like made, especially, I'm not going to say especially during divisive times or during, because it's just period. It just needs to be done all the time. It's like, it's the time that you stop connecting and stop living in community that your like brain stops growing and working. Like, you know, like I just think artists are really special because we are like lifelong learners and open. And then I also think people that are adjacent to the arts have opened up their lives to that. And it's like takes a special person to occupy that space of
constant evolving, of constant reassessing, of constant expression, and then being like reevaluating that expression. And it sounds like that first experience was really, one, helped you to cement that this is a possibility for you because you could see it in others, a time to explore what it looks like for you, while also maybe soaking up some of that energy or, you know, like globability of the other artists that you were surrounded, especially in New York, in Chelsea. That's like quintessential. That is like a classic. I know. You know,
it was so
20s. Like, like if your life was a sitcom or a movie, like you would have had to have had that experience.
I mean, before that, in undergrad, when I changed majors, the first thing I did was go study abroad in Italy and take a pastel course, like doing plein air pastels. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, these are the things that you do.
It kind of reminds me, and I wouldn't say that is performative, but it kind of reminds me of like the modeling of like, I'm young, this is what I think it looks like to be this thing. Even the first exhibition or the thesis that you were doing, like, this is what I want it to be, but also I'm modeling like what I've seen done before. So now, fast forward, you're here at McColl Center. What are you hoping to explore during your time during this residency?
Oh my gosh, I have been exploring so much here.
Okay, your studio is packed in like the best way. It's so vibrant.
It's packed, and I also feel like it's not packed enough to my standards.
Are you a fast worker?
I think that in my mind, like when I first got kind of settled in, I was like, yeah, I can do like a piece every 48 hours. And I can just like, you know, boom, 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 boom. And then reality and the body and like, that's not sustainable. But I have unlocked moves here for my practice that are going to now feed my next decade of work, at least.
Tell me more.
Part of it is, again, looking back, like usually I'm working from a set of images that are in my last, in my 20s and like kind of adult life. I've usually been pulling from my photo archive, which starts when I started backing up photos in 2016.
Right.
I didn't do that before then, and I had a laptop stolen before that. So it's like, oh, my archives start kind of then. And I had been working with all that imagery until coming here. And I had this like instinct to get my mom to send me photos from albums from my early childhood that I don't remember, under 5. And I've been pulling and working from imagery from that time and doing a real deep dive into how memory works and how it doesn't work and I think this is probably like a millennial conundrum. We say that we're like the last generation to experience real nostalgia. But like, yeah.
I never heard that, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've been going through, I have like 4 albums at home that I had my mom like send select photos out of. And that is all I have. So it started like when I'm going through these photos, I'm like, wow, these are a very particular time when you used to pull out the camera to take the photos. Right? Birthday parties, travel, like these momentous life moments, but also like there's such a finite amount of information from that time for me that I'm like, okay, I have 4 albums to go off of, and I don't remember most of it. And like, that's wild to me. So I'm processing that, and then I'm also like showing my mom some of the stuff that I've made here in the studio. Like I've been processing, like a lot of the prints that we see are like curtains and drapes that I have plethora of childhood baby photos in front of that I don't remember, but she immediately remembers it. She knows the home, she knows the time. It's like, to her, it's like immediately recognizable, but to me, it's not. And then it's just, so I've been incorporating other visuals besides just the body, and so that is one way that I've been spending a lot of time here. And then, I've been like also going into other multimedia ways too that support the different. Yeah,
we've seen you down in the metal shop getting it out. How is metal work being integrated into your practice right now?
I'm working on this mobile sculpture.
Okay.
This is based off of
and these are all cut yoga mats.
Yeah, these are cut and collaged and painted, and based off of a plant that I learned was a mutant plant called dubbed the Hindu rope plant in the plant community. It's a Hoya plant, so Hoyas I like to think of as kind of like a blend between like succulents and pothos plants. So they trail often, and they have like thicker leaves, like succulent type leaves, and a succulent type watering schedule. But when I have a couple of these plants at home that I've started to trail, and I just have always been fascinated that it's called a Hindu rope plant, and I guess that was created in like, I think it was like 95 or 96 in this nursery in Florida. That's like all I can find from it. And I'm just like, I gotta know more about this.
Right, that's interesting.
Fascinating. And so I instinctively made a small version of this piece in the winter before coming here. And when I made a small kind of like wall hanging that's like regular plant size, I was like, ooh, I would love to see like a plant portal. Basically, we're always thinking like, beam me up, Scotty, or whatever the fuck. I don't even know. What movie is that from?
It's Star Trek, Star Wars.
Oh, and I never wore Star Trek. I never watched Star Trek.
War is one of them. It's Trek.
Yeah, it's one of those like learned things by, and so I was like, I want to make the opposite of that. It's like a beam me into the earth, which I don't know. It's like down, up, I don't know. But I want to make a plant portal. And so the metal smithing has come into play because it's going to be the structural support for all of the greenery that comes to kind of envelop.
So is this going to be for a future exhibition that you have coming? Because you're doing a lot of mining of your history and stuff in preparation for that, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's how it has ended up becoming into that. Yeah. I think so. I just have to see what I'll get done, truly.
I love that, though. I think for myself, a question that I always think or ask when I'm working with artists, and even for myself, like, when you're creating something, is it with this explicit use or is it for exploration?
Yeah.
You know?
The best part is when they line up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened here. Like I had the vision of like this plant portal before coming here. And when I started talking about it with staff here, they were immediately like, oh, we can like help make this a reality. Renee.
Yeah.
And troubleshooting materials with everyone has been like tremendously helpful. Okay. So I have that. I have my little biscuits that are also.
Oh, that you're doing in the 3D lab.
Yeah,
or
that
the
are
laser
being
cutter.
laser cut.
Yeah. So what's going on with the biscuits?
The biscuits are so fitting into this whole show. So I'm basically enlarged and made giant versions of a biscuit that I used to eat a lot growing up, that most South Asian kids would like resonate with that immediately. The Parle G biscuit, which I've changed to Parle P since then, which is like my little spin on it, my little adjustment. But the biscuits, doing them on laser cutter, the finish of the wood looks identical to the biscuit.
The color,
the shading of the biscuit, it's actually like pretty wild. And I would have never gone to laser cutter had we not like had a brain meld sesh with multiple staff kind of all just like putting options in the pot. And I think what's going to happen is they're going to become mounted onto either like a thicker foam or like a substrate that gives them some biscuit body. And these biscuits then kind of end up looking like a set, like a performance set. They have a very like, I've talked about this yellow brick road for a long time. And again, I don't know how that's been a long-term kind of project for me in the back of my head. And like, maybe these will take shape in that, but maybe not. And I'm open to kind of them taking shape in multiple ways. But yeah, I'm pretty much excited. This show that I think is going so far back into inner child work, childhood work, the biscuits are going to fit right in as kind of like, I just don't know how yet. And that part, so I'm kind of in a stage where I'm just making as many parts as I possibly can. And then when I get to the space, I let the show kind of come together.
Because it's a solo show.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of space.
It sounds like to me you're creating your own immersive world of Preetika.
Yes. And I think that's like what I applied to here, like with like why I applied here also. It's like I've been chasing an immersive feel for a long time in the work, and it just takes like facility and support and like the right environment to actually accomplish that. And I'm excited because I think I'm going to finally, the visions that I have in my head of how it's going to unfold is very exciting to me.
Oh, I love this. I'm choosing because I'm trying. I feel like I'm on the journey with you.
Y'all are all on the journey with me. Yeah, you're all gonna see it.
So when is your show? When is the?
It's mid-April.
Oh, so you're really primed.
I'm really in it. That's why I'm like, I haven't done enough.
Yeah.
You can see it's crunch time. But the thing is, like, I know that I'll be, you know, the goal is to make more than you need. And then you can really, like, be selective. And then I really do feel like this work, opening myself up to all the archive that I have, is really, again, it's going to be feeding me for a while.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, feeding the practice for a while.
It feels like you said, you're really just making everything that you can, everything that comes to mind, play, exploration, and what will make it in the show will be kind of a culmination of all the right things.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, keep us posted on it all.
Of
We
course.
can't wait to...
Always have an open invite to come down south.
Oh, yeah. Wait,
little
first off.
further.
Okay, I was going to say, we
Further
are...
south.
Okay, but let's also clear it up. North Carolina is Southern. Okay,
I
we are the
know.
South.
Different
Y'all
kind of
Texans and Mississippians and everyone likes to play
we're
us a
pretty
little
much
bit.
in Mexico.
Yeah,
So.
basically. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but I will, and I can't wait to like see how the rest of this starts to pan out for you.
Me too. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, thank you.